It's time for the Beach Brothers Show. Beach Brothers, Virginia business and politics. Three brothers who live in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and we love Virginia business and politics. Conrad Shesviner is our booking agent. If you'd like to appear on our show, contact Conrad. Jose Cruz is our business bully. If you'd like for your business to be featured on the show, contact Jose. I'm Seko Varner, your producer. Shouts to our sponsors, beginning with Tally and Twine. It's time for a high-quality watch from Tally and Twine. That's tallyandtwine.com. Thanks to Southern Volkswagen Greenbrier for all the great sponsorship you've provided. If you're looking for a new car, you don't need to go far. Southern Volkswagen Greenbrier. Ladies, you want your brows to make people say, wow. So you need microblading from IamLitaWe.com. That's IamLitaWe.com. I'm Seko Varner, and I provide credit fixes, tax resolution, private money lending, and debt consolidation through Positive Vibes Financial. Contact me for your needs. And Conrad Shesviner is running for VB City Council. Good luck to Conrad. And now it's time to get beachy on the Beach Brothers Show.
Hey, I'm Tim Kaine, Senator from Virginia, here with my great friend Jody Wagner, who is running for mayor of Virginia Beach. She will do a superb job, I know, because I asked her to be my Secretary of Finance when I was governor, and she did a great job then. Listen, if you're a Virginian now, you can vote 4 ways. Early and in person, you can ask for a ballot and drop it off in person. You can vote by mail or you can vote on election day, but why not vote early in person starting on Friday, September 18th? And if you're not registered, you can get registered all the way up to October 13th. Do that for the future of Virginia Beach. Jody Wagner for mayor.
All right. I would like to thank Mr. Seko for this production of this great show tonight, and welcome to all Beach Brother Show viewers. I'm Conrad Shesviner, Beach Brother co-host and candidate for Rose Hall seat on Virginia Beach City Council. Of course, I want to fix flooding. I want to institute a rapid bus transit system, development that isn't so focused on tourism and is more focused on affordable living. I want better social justice, and I want reduced gun violence. Because of that, I have the great fortune of being recommended by the Virginia Beach Democratic Committee for your November vote. Remember, you all can vote early at the Virginia Beach Registrar's office, and beginning on October 19th, more locations such as Bayside Rec Center, Great Neck Rec Center, SeaTech Rec Center, and the Kimsville Treasurer's Office will be open for early voting. And voting for me is not the only thing to consider. The whole Virginia Beach Democratic sample ballot is one to look at, and one of the ballot guide's headliners is tonight's guest. We welcome Virginia Beach Mayor candidate Jody Wagner. Jody has a degree in economics from Northwestern University and a Juris Doctor from Vanderbilt. Prior to beginning her political life, she worked 18 years at Norfolk's Kaufman and Knowles, specializing in securities and banking. She's been a board member of the Norfolk Foundation and the political powerhouse Sorensen Institute. She's been a board member of the Eastern Virginia Medical School and president of the Jewish Family Service of Tidewater. In 2000, Jody ran for Congress for the same seat currently held by Elaine Loria. In 2002, as mentioned earlier, she was appointed treasurer of the state of Virginia by Governor Mark Warner. She was then elected president of the National Association of State Treasurers. In 2006, she was appointed as Secretary of Finance under Governor Kane. She's then run for lieutenant governor for the 2009 cycle. And in 2005, she created her own gourmet popcorn business based in Norfolk, Jodys Popcorn, and that is still alive and kicking. We begin with probably the most important question of all in any election cycle, and that's why. Why seek to become mayor of Virginia Beach?
Conrad, that is a very important question. First of all, let's say that these are tough times. People around Virginia Beach are struggling. We have COVID, which has hit not only Virginia Beach, but the entire region and nation. And the results are both personal and business. The personal ones are, we have people that are feeling threatened. We have health issues that they're dealing with. COVID has hit the minority community much harder than it's hit the regular community. People are catching COVID at greater rates and dying of COVID at greater rates. In addition, people are feeling isolated. Mental health concerns are heightened, both among young people who are really struggling that, if they're not in school, they're feeling very isolated, and older people who are stuck at their homes and can't get out and really feel like, is this what my life's going to be like for the next 6 months or a year? So there are personal things, but there are a lot of business things too. The recession that's been created by COVID is deep and significant. A lot of small businesses throughout the area are really struggling to survive. Many aren't going to make it, particularly those in the hospitality or personal care industries where people are afraid to go into those facilities. So we've got a lot of challenges in the city, and we need to address those. But we also, as you've referred to before many times, we have major things that have not been dealt with that have been issues for a long time. Flooding being the number one issue has not been dealt with the way it needs to, and it needs immediate and significant attention. Education, we have schools that are very disparate. We have some schools that are brand new and are gorgeous, and we have other schools that are 60 and 70 years old and deeply in need of renovation or replacement. And at the current rate that the city is managing the investment to do that renovation and repair, half those schools won't be renovated until they're 100 years old. And that creates disparities in education, but it also affects property values. If you live in an area where where children are slated to go to a school that's in deep need of repair, it affects the value of your house because people aren't necessarily going to select that neighborhood to live in. So those are all issues that we need to deal with. The number one short-term issue that we have to address is permitting. In Virginia Beach, it can take an extremely long time to get a permit approved. And that's everything from getting a permit to put a change in your house if you want to add a porch or something, all the way to doing major residential developments. So we've got to address that. We've got to figure out the root causes of why it's taking so long. And then we need to fix those causes, and we need to have we need to be at the top of our game as compared to other localities so that we're a city that's easy to do business with. You've talked about the need to diversify the economy. We can't do that if businesses can't get opened. If people that are bringing their business to the area can't build a building and get occupancy in a reasonable amount of time. So we have to address all of those concerns. And I didn't see it happening with the current city council. I think our mayor is a really, really nice man, but it takes something else right now. It takes somebody that's really a proven leader that can deal with the financial issues facing the city and can deal with the bringing people together. I spent 7 years in state government dealing with finance issues. And unfortunately, during that 7 years, we dealt with 2 recessions. In Governor Warner's term, we dealt with the dot-com recession, and we had to address an $8 billion shortfall. And then in Governor Kane's term, we dealt with an additional recession and had to balance a budget without raising taxes, and really still in both administrations made significant improvements in higher education and investments there and investments in parks and recreation during Governor Warner's term. So I think there's a lot we can do. Virginia Beach has so many opportunities, but we need leadership that's going to get things done. And as my husband will tell you, I'm not very patient. I expect to get things done at home, and I'm going to expect to get things done in the city.
All right. Let's roll on back to business, because we like to sort of highlight both business and politics. And let's take a step to look at Jodys Popcorn, which is a 757 staple. Can you give us a brief history of that business and how well it's doing?
So we started the business in 2005 in a retail shop on Laskin Road right near King Neptune. And that was, fun, and it was engaging. What I did find is it's very seasonal down there. I mean, I was told that it wouldn't be, but that did not work out to be the case. So we started doing wholesaling because we needed to figure out a way to make ends meet during January, February, when nobody was coming to the oceanfront. And ultimately, we found that there was a huge market for wholesaling of popcorn. So our model has really shifted, and where we were 95% wholesale, or maybe 100% retail back in 2005. Today, we're probably 95% wholesale and 5% retail. So we've really shifted our model, and it's been, very successful. We're now shipping all over the country. We measure our production and how successful we are on how many pallets we ship in a month. In August, we shipped 169 pallets of popcorn, which was the highest number we've ever shipped. Although I think we're on track this month, maybe to beat that. And, though that is really creating great jobs in the area. We employ about 35 people at our production facility, a very diverse workforce. And we have an opportunity for people with great skills, like the bagging machine operator, who is probably the most valuable person in the plant. Because if you can't bag the popcorn, there's no point in selling it, and there's no point in making it. So we are growing, and we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Now, my number one issue is flooding. I lost a car to Hurricane Matthew. And after 2016, Virginia Beach Council even voted to sort of redirect stormwater flooding to road projects like Witch Duck expansion. As I see it, the city designed a budget to not treat flooding as seriously as it needed to. As I also see it, we need billions of dollars for projects, and we need to go to Richmond and DC to supplement that. You know your way around both places. So what does Mayor Wagner provide on the issue of flooding over the next 4 years?
Well, I think I provide three different things. First, I do know my way around Richmond, and I have great relationships. In fact, I'm proud to say that every statewide elected official and the Speaker of the House have endorsed my candidacy and are helping to get me elected. So I intend to go to those people and say, okay, I got elected. Now we have to work hard to solve the problems facing the city. And that means helping out on the flooding issues. Same thing with the federal government. I've been endorsed by Mark Warner, Tim Kaine, and Elaine Luria. I intend to work with them to address the flooding issues. And frankly, the federal government has a huge stake in the outcome. We have 4 Navy bases in Virginia Beach, and they have sailors all over the city who care about their homes. So between the issues of protecting the bases and the issues of protecting the homes for the sailors, they should very much be players in solving those issues. And then finally, I've spent a lot of time understanding city and state finance. And I think that we need to take a hard look at how the city uses its bonding capacity and analyze what we can do to really make a difference and use that capacity to address the issues.
I'm Jody Wagner, and I'm running to be the next mayor of the city of Virginia Beach. I love our city. My husband, Alan, and I have called this home for over 30 years. We've raised our 4 children here. I've dedicated my career to fighting to improve our community, our city, and our Commonwealth. But there's so much more work to be done. I'm running to improve our response to COVID-19, to fight for a stronger local economy with more high-paying jobs, to foster an inclusive community that embraces its diversity, to stand up for public education and put student safety first, to develop a more resilient coastal community and resolve the flooding issues. Most of all, I'm running to get things done. These are solvable issues. We need a leader that can bring everyone to the table, put the best solutions forward, and improve the lives and livelihoods of every Virginia Beach resident. I'm running to be your mayor, and I hope I can count on your vote on November 3rd.
All right, you're running for some really important reasons, some very important reasons. Okay. All right, so 2020 has been a very hectic year, and COVID-19 being the chief reason why it's been so hectic. Its effects. Wow, yeah, technology is always fun. So yeah, 2020 has been hectic, and COVID-19 has been one of the chief causes for that. It's affected our nation's economy and Virginia Beach's economy too. So if elected mayor, how would you address COVID-19 recovery?
And first of all, let me say that, it is affected every single person in the city. And we're all struggling in some way with COVID-19. But the businesses that have been most affected are the small businesses and the ones that we really enjoy going to. It's the restaurant in our neighborhood that we're used to stopping in at for dinner. It's the hairdressers that we like to go to. They were out of work for several months when they weren't allowed to see clients. So those are the businesses that we need to support. And the city has done a little bit. They did a CARES Act distribution, but frankly, it didn't go far enough or deep enough. And it took way too long to get the money out to the recipients. In fact, as of a month ago, grants that were approved in June had not reached the recipients. I'm told now that much of that money has finally gotten out, but this is October. So if we do another grant process, it needs to be much faster. It needs to be much more direct. We need to help those businesses in some of the extra expenses that they're experiencing, the extra cleaning, the PPE that they need. First of all, we need to make sure that they can always get the PPE that they need, so that if they need masks, if they need, different gear, they have it. But in addition, we need to be more creative. I went to New York City this summer, and that city has been ravaged by, COVID-19 worse than anywhere in the country. But what they did, which was so smart, is that all of the restaurants that were on side streets, so if you're talking 51st Street or 52nd Street, they allowed them to go in one lane and have outdoor seating. So instead of it being a 4-lane street, it was a 2-lane street with restaurants on each side. And it was a real party environment. You had the Chinese restaurant thing, you had the Italian restaurant thing, you had the Mexican restaurant. And they all had cool decorations and stuff. It was sort of fun. So we need to be looking at how we help our restaurants expand their seating. And, the city right now is considering more patio seating availability, but they're planning on charging the restaurants between $6 a square foot and $11 a square foot to be able to use that patio seating. That's absurd. When these restaurants are struggling to survive, we're making it harder for them to do it. We need to be making it easy. It needs to be streamlined. We need to be right there making it happen. And frankly, the city ought to be buying tents and heaters, because it's going to get rainy, as we know, in Virginia Beach, and it's going to get cold this winter. So we need to be helping those restaurants be able to expand their sales by having outdoor seating with heaters. So I think the city needs to really, put up our game in terms of helping them.
Okay. Speaking of restaurants, what are some of your fave restaurants in Virginia Beach? Virginia Beach.
Most of my favorite restaurants are in Virginia Beach, and I do a whole lot of eating. Let me tell you. Probably my favorite place for breakfast is Ray Ray's. It's in the Mayflower apartment building at 34th, I think, and Pacific. It is excellent. And they make the best lumpia and beignets. They are amazing. So that's for breakfast. For lunch, I really like Stockpot, which is over in the Vibe District. It is right near Waring's Gym. There used to be a little cafe there, and now it's Stockpot. And they make great avocado toast and soups. And there's a chicken fried rice that I really, really like. And then for dinner, if you want a really high-end dinner, I like Terrapin. I liked it better when it was more casual. They recently have gone back to a very formal 3-course meal, which I'm not crazy about. But when they did their casual stuff, it was fabulous. And then there's a restaurant that I really like called Hearth, which is also in the Vibe District, which is sort of wood-fired pizzas and wood-fired cauliflower and stuff like that.
Okay. I want to encourage you to check out the We Care Cafe. That's one of my favorite breakfast spots, We Care Cafe. It's in the Timberlake area. Okay. And near Lynn Haven Mall, one of my favorite lunch and dinner spots. They also have nice drinks as well, is Montego Island Grill. So check them out.
And there's a great place called NOLA, which is New Orleans place that's over near Centerville. Fabulous. We've had great meals there.
Good stuff. Good.
All right. Well, Virginia Beach came close to having a referendum on our 2020 ballot, giving residents a choice on direct district voting. It failed 5-6, our respective opponents being in the 6. How do you view our current voting system, and what would you like our voting system to be?
Okay. So Conrad, something you're going to learn about me is that I like to study stuff sometimes and understand it. And in Virginia, we have all sorts of ways that voting is handled. There's the district voting like Norfolk does. And then there's the citywide voting like Chesapeake does. And then there's this hybrid that we do where it's citywide, but we have districts. I think we need to look statewide at what's been successful and what's produced the greatest representation for the community so that we have community members represented. And then we need to go for it. In Virginia Beach, right now, our system actually has produced 2 minority, 2 African-American city councilmen. I worry that if we did district voting, because our city is so spread out and because there aren't heavy concentrations of a community, that it might actually disenfranchise the Black community. So we need to really look at it, get somebody to do a demographic study and see what it would look like. I know there's that lawsuit that's pending, and I think it started hearings this week. So I don't know where that stands, but that it would go to, I think, 10 districts, and the only statewide vote would be, or citywide vote would be the mayor. That may make sense, but the way they've drawn the districts doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They've put Asians, and I think Asians and African Americans in the same bucket, like they vote together, but I think they have very different voting habits. So I think it needs more study.
Mm-hmm. Correct. I also haven't heard much from that case, so I'm still trying to make sure that I get to hear as much whenever it comes up. And let's move on again to 2020, not just about COVID, but about tremendous social movements marked by protest. Now, not all appreciate that, with some thinking that those protests and such are grand assaults on our police. From my stance, we need better social justice, and reforming how police do their work is understandable. On that topic, we at the Beach Brothers note a very striking ad put forth by the Virginia Beach Police Benevolent Association. Your characterization in it is suspect. Candidate Wagner, may you unpack your thoughts on that ad, the protests, and police?
Yes, I'd be glad to. First of all, I think it's horrible that that ad equates protesters with being bad people. You know, that it paints every protester as an arsonist and somebody that's destroying property. And that's just not accurate at all. If you look at the protests that happened all around the country, and particularly here in Hampton Roads, 99% of them were very peaceful. You know, we had a little bit of destruction, which was unfortunate and should definitely be condemned at the oceanfront on a Saturday night. But I would argue those may not have even been the protesters. Those may have been people taking advantage of the environment and the opportunity to make trouble. But most of our protests have been very peaceful and very respectful. We need to make sure that we respect the police. They are, you know, I am distressed when I hear nasty epitaphs and things being said to the police. I was down at the oceanfront July 4th, and I listened to some people giving the police a really hard time, and that's not acceptable. We need to teach we need to treat the police with respect, but we need to also treat the protesters with respect. And we need to listen to the issues that they're concerned about. And those issues are very real, and we need to address them. And, you know, there has been systemic racial problems for a very long time, and not just in policing. Right now, I'm reading a great book called The Color of Law, and I would highly recommend it to anybody listening. It really talks about how the federal government and certain cities and states all over the country really created racial segregation, really stopped African Americans from being able to buy homes. And it wasn't just here on the East Coast or in the South, it was in California. So it was all over the country. So we need to recognize that this has been done, it's been a reality, and now we need to figure out how we rectify it and how we move forward. With regard to the concerns that the protesters are expressing, I think it's very important that we bring everybody together and we sit down and we have serious conversations about the issues. If I were mayor, I would put together a group of some protesters, some faith leaders, some representatives from the police department, including the Police Benevolent Association, even though they're running an ad against me, representatives from, you know, the chief of police, and then representatives of the city council, and have everybody talk about those issues and talk about solutions. I think all of these issues are things that are fixable. They're things that we can address, but we can't fix them if we don't talk about them seriously. With regard to the ad, let me just set the record straight on a few things. First of all, I was not marching with protesters to defund the police. I was at a unity rally at Norfolk State with college athletes, representatives of the administration of Norfolk State, including the Norfolk State president, faith leaders, police were present, and it was a very peaceful discussion. It was really there to honor George Floyd's memory and express everybody's dismay at what had happened. You know, no one should think it's acceptable for a man to be killed by police by putting somebody's knee on somebody's neck for 7 minutes and 46 seconds. So that was what that was about. But the people that created the ad made it look like I was some sort of terrorist that was going to burn down Virginia Beach if I was elected. It's totally absurd. And hopefully the citizens are smart enough, the voters are smart enough to see through it.
So that footage was taken from a March for Unity that you were doing at Norfolk State University.
Yes, sir. And they're using it to actually create a divisive ad that tries to divide police and protesters, and frankly, divide the African-American community and the police. And we should be bringing those groups together and not tearing them apart.
You've seen our economy from as wide an angle as Treasurer of the State and Secretary of Finance. So your view on politics and business is probably very involved, very experienced, and very deep. So if elected as mayor, how do you see Virginia Beach growing and diversifying our economy?
So we are really lucky because we're sort of at what I would view as an inflection point. As you know, we've got these great undersea cables that are coming to Camp Pendleton. Virginia Beach will have the fastest internet in the nation. And in 2020, 2021, internet is king because most of our work is done via the internet. Even if you're doing manufacturing, it frequently deals with the internet, downloading things. So we need to take advantage of that. And COVID, the one good thing about COVID that we've learned is that you can work at home and provide services elsewhere, right? You can live here and work there. Well, you should also be able to live here and enjoy the beauty of Virginia Beach and our 247 parks and our great schools, but provide services to customers in San Francisco or New York. So we need to go out and recruit the kind of firms that have knowledge-based jobs, get them to center their headquarters here, and be able to have a great environment for their employees and for themselves. I'm excited about that opportunity. I really think we can make some changes. And that will hopefully stop what I call the brain drain, where kids, go to high school here, they leave here, they go to college, and then they don't come back. They end up going to some other city to work because they can't get the kind of jobs they want. So we need to bring those jobs here. In addition, the offshore wind is a huge opportunity. The gentleman at Dominion Power that's working on it described it as being more important to this community than nuclear energy was to creating ships and submarines that had nuclear power. So we can make great strides. It's supposed to create 16,000 jobs. We need to make sure we get a lot of those jobs right here in Virginia Beach. And then finally, I don't think you necessarily have to go to college. There are a lot of very bright students who really want to enter the workforce after they graduate high school. We need to be recruiting the kind of smart engineering and smart manufacturing jobs so that they can graduate, get a skill, and then go to work and succeed. And that can be everything from being a pipe fitter to doing complicated programming. I mean, there's a whole host of things you can do with skill training and not necessarily college. So we need to be recruiting those kind of employers so that our students can stay here and do those types of jobs. So I think our future is really bright, but only if we go after it. And I promise you that as mayor, I'm going to spend a huge amount of my time working on economic development, because ultimately, if you're not growing, you're dying. And right now, Virginia Beach is starting to die. We've lost population for the past 2 years. So we've had net negative growth. That cannot continue. We've got to reverse that effort.
All righty. Now, the southern part of the city has a rich agricultural history and plenty of natural reserves. The city instituted the Green Line in 1979 to keep development in the northern city sections. With that came a city effort to not provide some basic utilities south of the line and create an agricultural reserve program to keep development for farming. We'd like to know how important it is to preserve the general goal of the Green Line and if programs like the ARP still hold merit.
Okay, so the ARP definitely still holds merit, and we need to support that program. We also need to try and capture more open space. And we're really lucky because one of the great things that the Congress and President Trump did this year is sign the Great Outdoors Act. And that assures $1 billion in money each year to the Land Conservation Fund to buy open space. So Virginia Beach needs to have a plan, and we need to be ready to apply so that we can go after that money. And because we have a lot of open space that we ought to be preserving. With regard to developing below the green line, we have a major flooding issue. And until we have solved that flooding issue, I don't think we can even consider it. So let's get the flooding solved first.
All righty. Now, in my view, you've approached your campaign with an outreach goal. You've crafted a specialized task force, forces actually, to address important issues within Virginia Beach. One is the economy and workforce revitalization. One is flooding and coastal resiliency. One is diversity and equity. One is health and public safety. Let the viewers of the Beach Brothers Show know more about your task forces, who might be on them, and how they're going to help you be ready on day one for being mayor.
Well, first of all, let me tell you why I created them. It is outreach, but it's also a recognition that I don't know everything. In fact, there's a whole lot I don't know. So I like to surround myself with specialists that do know. So each of those task forces is comprised of two kinds of people. We've got subject matter specialists, particularly in the one that deals with flooding. We have people that really understand that issue in a very significant way: engineers, land planners, activists that are involved in that. But we also want to hear from community leaders. So we have on our on the diversity and equity task force, we have major leaders in the community that can speak to the issues that they hear about on a day-to-day basis. That task force is chaired by Veronica Coleman, who's a pastor and very, very respected in the community, and Harry Graber, who is the past executive director of the United Jewish Federation. And they led that task force to make some fabulous recommendations of things that we need to look at and that we need to deal with. The Health and Public Safety Task Force is chaired by, on the public safety side, by Bobby Matheson, who is a retired police officer and then was a U.S. Marshal, both under Obama and under Trump. And we have about, I think, 3 other retired police officers on that task force, as well as citizens, including some of the protesters that are there to speak about what they're concerned about. On the health side, we have several health professionals, including Jordan Asher, who's the chief medical officer of Centera. And it's amazing how much the connection is between public safety and health. There really are a lot of things that we need to talk about together. For example, police spend a huge amount of their time picking up a mental health patient, waiting at the hospital until there is a decision of whether the patient needs to be hospitalized, waiting until the patient is tested for COVID, and then waiting for a bed so that they can take them to the right facility. We need to figure out a better way to do that. And this task force with the interaction between those two groups will help. And then our final task force that we have is the Economy Task Force. And that was chaired by Monique Adams, who's been really instrumental in promoting entrepreneurial efforts, and Harry Lester, who's been a stalwart for economic development. And that task force really dealt with 3 issues. First, how do we diversify our economy, which we've talked about a little bit tonight? Second, what do we do to revitalize the oceanfront? Because if you've been to Atlantic Avenue between 15th and 25th Street, it needs a lot of renovation. It has not been kept up, and our city council should be embarrassed at how they let it decay. And then the third issue that they dealt with is how do we help businesses as we come out of COVID? So those were very, very helpful recommendations. But the thing that I asked each task force member when they accepted the role on the task force is, stay with me. If I win, stay, because I need your advice going forward, both your advice and I need you as an accountability partner. Because unlike the mayor who made a bunch of promises and signed a contract with Virginia Beach and then didn't follow through, he didn't have anybody there to shake him and say, you said you were going to do this and you're not. I want these task force members to be there to say, Jody, we told you this was a problem. It's been 6 months since you took office. You haven't addressed it. What are you going to do? So I want that accountability.
Interesting. Wow. We've had a couple of viewer questions. Okay. I want to go through a couple of those. Ian McDonald says Conrad is anti-cop. That's
What?
Lindsay McDaniel says that you've already earned her vote.
Thank you.
And RJ Brothers asks a great question. What's your view in helping BIPOC of Virginia Beach?
I apologize, but I don't know what BIPOC is.
Okay. Well, RJ also had another question. Let's see. You've already discussed fixing flooding, right?
Right.
All right. We've already discussed economic growth. Did you discuss economic growth in low-income areas?
We didn't specifically, we haven't specifically talked about it tonight, but we definitely need to look at revitalizing certain areas. And, the federal government and the state government have some great programs that we really need to energize and use to be able to make investment in those areas attractive. Virginia Beach, I don't think has promoted it as much as we can. Things like the economic development grants and things like that, but we need to work on those. But we also need to encourage the businesses that are locating in areas with a lot of workers that need jobs to really reach out and use those workers to be their employees. And that's something that I will very much trumpet and work for.
Okay, great. Well, as you see, I'm wearing my Green Run Stallions polo. I spent some time at Green Run High School as the access advisor. And so education is really important to me. And when I'm looking at people who are going to act as the figurehead and the decision maker and the visionary leader and the servant leader and all the great things that mayors are, I'm also concerned about their educational vision for our school system and how they'll work with our school system to make sure that we don't have that drain that you talked about, that we can make sure that our students, once they graduate from our great schools here in Virginia Beach, want to stay in the great city of Virginia Beach and have a great opportunity. So let's talk about your educational vision. What's your vision for the city of Virginia Beach?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to work very closely with the school board. I understand that at times that's been a little rough, and I don't want it to be rough. We should be partners. We should be working together. Yes, city council's major role is to allocate money, and then it's the school board's role to spend the money in the right way. So I have to be respectful of the school board members, but I can be an advocate and I can be a cheerleader. And, my vision is that we have a school system where every child graduates from high school and where we really help those that have started out from behind so that they can catch up and they can be able to graduate and have a successful career in life. It is a challenge. If you've grown up in a house that is, has two parents that are very educated and they read you every night and they teach you your ABCs and they do all those things, that's great. But there are a lot of kids that aren't growing up in that environment. But that doesn't mean that their education should be any less important. If anything, we should be putting a lot more resource into those children.
Right.
There's the whole concept of equity versus equality. And the best way I look at it is equity means that everybody ends up at a level playing field, but it may mean that some people need extra help to get there. And I feel very strongly that we give them that extra help. And that may be children that are ESL, English as a second language children, that need extra help. It may be children who have grown up in an environment where their mom and dad had to work 3 jobs and couldn't read them bedtime stories. But we need to make sure that we are providing the support for those kids, because ultimately I will consider it a win if every child in Virginia Beach graduates from high school and is successful.
I agree. And your interest in, the differential between equity and, well, it's kind of interesting. As an educator, we often say that equality is everybody having shoes. Equity is everyone having shoes that fit.
It's a good analogy.
Right. Great. Well, leaving the concept of schools, and you just talked about your vision for great schools. I guess, Conrad, let's take this baby home, man. Let's ask the infamous Beach Brothers question.
Uh-oh.
Infamous, but most likely it's more of a positive. We really want optimism here on the Beach Brothers Show, and our shows are designed to be specifically that, for politics and business. So you're running for the mayor's office. Tell us what you see as what's good in Virginia Beach. What are the things that just makes you happy about living here and doing commerce here?
Well, first of all, Virginia Beach is a great place to live. It is, you can't miss the fact that we have water everywhere. It's beautiful. You drive around and, you see water, you see the ocean. But we also have 247 parks, and some of them are small neighborhood parks, some are big parks. But it is a great place to be outside, to get, to exercise, to enjoy yourself, to just walk around. And COVID really brought that home. During the first few months of COVID, when we really couldn't do anything, my husband and I found ourselves doing a lot of long walks through Seashore State Park and through a variety of other parks. We discovered parks we didn't even know existed because we were looking for different places to go. So Virginia Beach has great natural resources. We have great schools. Yes, we have some schools that need to be renovated, but the teachers are fabulous, and we really need to keep those teachers and encourage them and support them. We have a wonderful, employee base. There are a few issues that we need to deal with, like permitting, but overall the city runs extremely well. I think it's a very well-managed city. And, best of all, we have great businesses. Everything from some of the restaurants that we were talking about to some of the big businesses that we've brought here that are making a significant difference. So there is a lot that we have to be proud of. And I'm excited about that, but we can't stop there, right? We have to continue to grow, and we have to continue to we have to do two things. One, we have to support the businesses we have. There's a rule in business that 80% of your new business comes from existing customers. I think that's true in city growth too. 80% of our growth in jobs is going to come from businesses that are already here. So we need to support those businesses and find out what they need, whether it's workforce development, if there are certain skills they need us to be teaching students, if it's grants to be able to expand their facility, if it's better permitting so that they can get their construction done, we need to be supporting them. And then for that other 20%, we need to go out and find the kind of businesses that will really enhance Virginia Beach and make us even better. So I'm excited to get going. I can't wait truthfully, I can't wait until November 3rd so that this election is over. And I'm hoping that I win. And with your viewers' help, I will. And look forward to working with you, Conrad. I think we can make a big difference. And I think it's going to make, Virginia Beach great. And it's really going to make us the best, as I've said before. I think we can be the best managed city, the best city to do business in, and the best city in which to raise a child. And that is my goal. And I look forward to spending the next 4 years fighting to make that happen.
Right before we close out, I wanted to squeak in one last question here from our mutual friend Martha, because she wanted me to ask that council recently voted for two controversial spot rezonings that a lot of the affected communities would like to bring forth in front of council. As mayor, would you like to honor the community's requests?
Well, first of all, let me say that spot zoning is a problem. I mean, there's a reason that there is zoning, and we need to honor that zoning. If we want to change the zoning, we need to have a reasonable discussion about what we do to change it. If we decide that this shouldn't be zoned agricultural anymore, then we need to talk about it. We need to have hearings about it. We need to consider it. I am not sure. I've been told by lawyers that city council cannot reconsider those issues, that the only remedy is for the people that are upset about it to go to court. I don't know if that's true. And right now I don't have access to the city lawyers to find out if it's true. That's just what I've been told by lawyers that are not working for the city of Virginia Beach. If it's legal for us to reconsider it, I would be glad to. But if it's a fait accompli and they have to do it through legal action, then I apologize, but that's all we can do.
All right. And I hear is that the sound of freedom I hear in the background, jet noise?
It is.
Oh, man, we've had a great time with you, Ms. Wagner. Thank you for being on the platform. Thank you for being willing to place yourself in front of scrutiny, in front of disconcertion. There's just a lot that you have to deal with as a candidate. And we hip hop salute to all of you who are out there like good brother Conrad, who are fighting a good fight, doing the great things for our great city of Virginia Beach. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hey, coming up next, I guess at 8:15, we're going to be on with another person running for Virginia Beach seat. Who's that?
That would be Nadine Paniccia.
Nadine Paniccia. Well, Jody Wagner, thank you for being with us tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, oh, did you have something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to thank you for what you guys are doing. I mean,
Thank
it
you
is
very
great to have a platform where you're asking the questions, and that is awesome. I'm glad to have somebody that cares. And Seko, I really appreciate what you're doing in education and what you're doing in the community. And Conrad, I like having you in the fight, and I look forward to working with you. So
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you very
Thank you.
much.
All right. Well, good night, everybody. This show was brought to you by Positive Vibes Incorporated, our consulting services. We do credit fixes, we do tax resolution, we lend private money, and debt consolidation. So if you need some of these services, we're waiting here for you. Credit fixes, tax resolutions, private money, and debt consolidation. Make sure you call Positive Vibes Incorporated. Take care.